After the last 2 weeks showing how you can use Papagayo to help with lip sync, today I'm taking a look at a tool that claims it can remove that step and do lip syncing without you having to tell it where the mouth shapes are. But is this possible? Well, that's what I'll take a look at today. Hello friends, and welcome to another look at lip syncing. So after my last couple of lip sync videos, I received a message from JP Parks telling me about a tool for auto lip syncing, with the idea being that you don't need to specify where in the audio the words are, it just works it out for itself. So I took a look at it, and at first I couldn't work out the command line options, so I gave up, until I was prompted a week later with another question from JP. So I took another look and finally figured them out, which was why I wanted to make this video. And I've got the details of how to download and run them in the description below. And this is a command line tool, but hang around till later in the video if you prefer a GUI instead of command line. So how does it work? Well, basically you just pass it your audio file and it performs speech recognition over it, which gives it the script. And it then knows the mouth shapes for different words, and it uses this to decide where the mouth shape should be, based on the audio. And it then works out which frames the mouth shape should be in, based on the number of frames per second that your animation runs in. So it basically tries to do what we manually did in Papagayo over the past 2 weeks. So let's give it a go. But first, you'll need some audio, so let's record some. And I'll just record a small piece for this demo, but after completing this recording and editing the video, I'll put the audio for this tutorial through RIOT, the GUI that I'll show you later, and set up my Darren T puppet to use the generated lip sync file. And I won't make any edits to this, so you can see exactly what it produces for a longer example, and that might help you make your mind up for whether you want to use it or not. So I use Audacity to record this clip, and this is a free piece of audio editing software, so if you haven't got it already, download it and take a look at it. So you just click the record button and say your audio. Let's give it a go. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. And then press stop. So I'll just trim this audio down at the end by highlighting it with the mouse and pressing the delete key. And again at the start, I'll cut out a lot of that. And then you just need to export the audio using the export audio option. And I'll save it into my temp folder in the C directory. And there it is. Okay, so to run this from the command line, first you need to download the Rhubarb zip file from the release site. So choose the operating system and download this zip, then unzip the file, and if you want, move the unzip folder to somewhere else on disk, and then open up a command line window. On Windows you can just left click on the start button and then type cmd, and then choose the command prompt. And I'll zoom in on this to make it easy to see. Let's make that slightly bigger. And then you type the run command. And you can see an example of a command on the Google Groups link in the description. That'll take you to this page, where you can see an example for macOS, and at the bottom, my example for Windows, including a link to my GUI. So I'll take a copy of that text there, and paste it in. So the first part of the command is the location for the Rhubarb exe file that's in the folder that you unzipped. And then you want the path to your audio file. And I called it audio.wave. And you tell it the format for the output file, which needs to be DAT. And then we'll tell it to use the Preston Blair mouth shapes, which is the standard set of 10 mouth shapes. And finally, where you want the output file to go, which again I'll put into the temp folder. So if I just press enter on that command, and you'll see it process through the audio file. This takes just a minute or so for a short file like this. Obviously for a longer file it'll take a little bit longer. And now if I look in the temp folder, we've got the output file. You can take a look at that by double clicking it, and you can see it's just a set of frame numbers and then the mouth shape to show on that frame. So now we've got the data file, we just need to open up OpenToonz. And I've got a project here already started. And I've got a drawing level here with the 10 mouth shapes drawn into it. And I've just copied the 10 Preston Blair mouth shapes, just so we've got something to look at. However, they are quite exaggerated and cartoony faces, so they will move quite a lot, so won't necessarily be the clearest way to look at it. But they should give you an idea. Then either from the XSheet menu, choose Apply Lip Sync Data to Column, or right click on the drawing in the column and choose Apply Lip Sync Data to Column, and then you get this dialog pop up. So if necessary, change the order of the faces by clicking these arrows next to each face, but I don't need to because I drew them in this order based on this dialog. And then browse the data file by clicking on this button here at the bottom, and it's in C, temp, and it's output.dat. And then simply click Apply. And then you'll see that your level has been used to lay out your basic lip sync in this column. And you can of course adjust this, and you probably should, changing some mouth shapes or adding in-betweens, or reducing or extending the exposure of some of the mouth shapes to fit your character's character. But to see this in action, we need to hear the audio as the mouth moves. So if we go back to the temp folder, we can simply select the audio file and drag it in to OpenToonz. It'll ask if you want to import or load. I'll choose to import to take a copy of the file in the project. And then it adds another column with the audio waveform shown. And hopefully you can see that some of the mouth shapes do occur at points in time where the waveform changes. So we'll make sure that the soundtrack button is selected with it highlighted in yellow, and then let's click play. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. So you can see that the mouth shapes are approximately in time with the audio, but they'll need a little finessing. So that's how you can use the command line, but running from command line isn't for everyone, so I created a GUI to make running it easier. And you can download that from the link to my Gumroad site in the description. So it basically covers everything that you can do from the command line, but in an easier to use GUI. So after running, you simply browse to your audio file here, or type in the path, and that's already correct here. If some of your lip sync isn't quite accurate enough, you can also type in the dialogue here. And this is passed to the Rhubarb tool to help it work out the mouth shapes. And then set what folder you want the output data file to go into, and then choose a name for the data file, and then set the frames per second. Then when you're ready, just click Create Lip Sync File. And again, it just takes a minute to complete. And at the bottom there, we've just got some notes telling you the conversion's done. So if we look in the temp folder, we'll see our new lip sync dat file. So again, we can just go back to OpenToonz. If we go to the first frame, if we copy just one of the drawings, any one of them, into a new column, and then we can hide the first column, and in this column we can choose to apply the lip sync again. We'll browse to the other data file this time, lipsync.dat, click apply, and again it's added the mouth shapes, and you can see it's added exactly the same mouth shapes here. So if we play this, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. So I would make some changes. 1, 2, 1. Spacing between 1 and 2 isn't quite right, so I'd make the 1 last longer and start the O for the 2 a little bit later. But we'll look at manually changing your lip sync in OpenToonz a little bit more next week. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. So that's how you use Rhubarb or RIOT. But the question is, why would you use it? Well, as we've seen here, it's pretty good at working out the correct mouth shapes to use, and is, as you'd expect, really good at timing when to show them. But it's not going to be as good as setting them up for yourself. And only you know your character's particular way of speaking. However, making these small adjustments shouldn't be too hard. And next week I'll take a look at manually setting up your lip sync, so that will give you some ideas of how to do it. But don't forget that you can use this tool just to give you an idea of where the mouth shapes are, even if you don't use them directly in your animation. You can have a column just to show these mouth shapes and then still manually draw your animation separately. But this will give you a basis for what shapes should begin on which frame. So you'd be using the X sheet very much like a traditional X sheet as a way for someone to set out the timing for speech. But I think the big win for auto lip sync is when you don't have time to do a perfect job yourself, or when you have so much speech that you can't do it for yourself. There'd be no way that I'd choose to manually set up all of this lip sync, but using RIOT and Rhubarb it should be a doddle. But as I'm recording this, I've not seen the results yet, not until I've edited this video. So I'll record that process and share it with you next. So that's auto lip sync with Rhubarb and RIOT. Why not give it a go yourself and see if it'll help you set up your lip sync? Easy to set up and easy to do. And that's a guarantee.